Alan Ayers,
Here.
Nick Lambert,
Here.
Billy Christensen, here. Arthur Christensen, Julie Marshall, here. Jim Mark,
Here.
Tony Chicky,
Here.
Dennis Chandler. Dare Smith, Douglas Hoffman,
Here.
Jim Mark,
Here.
Morgan Thomas.
Good evening, everybody. As you guys all know by now, we always start off our meetings with an opportunity for the public to speak. Are there any members of the public who might want to speak? Greg Miller?
Sorry. I was called up by name.
You will remember the public that I thought I wanted to speak.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Greg Miller. I'm a Mansfield resident. I am also a member-elect, I think, of Region 19 Board of Education, and I was elected on Tuesday. I have a simple message I wanted to extend to all of you and to say that I just wanted to personally extend my gratitude to everybody on this board. My daughter is who's 19, went through EO and had a really great run. And so I just want to thank you all. And I am excited myself to work with all of you and to continue the good work for the betterment of all students at EO. Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Well, just for your own information, make sure you get sworn in at the town hall. And officially, office commences on the 1st of December.
Great.
You're officially a member of that.
I love it. That's right. I forgot to mention I'm just a member of the public.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. If there anybody else in the public that would like to address the board? Okay. Then we can move on to our agenda, and we can start with our committee reports, personnel. Oh, she's not here. So we don't have a personnel committee agent tonight. Personnel committee. We didn't meet anyway. Although we're going to.
Yes.
Yeah. Policies.
Policy met, the base employees were that we made the decision to separate the discipline policy from the AI policy. And there's some work in developing the AI policy. And then the other big thing was that we got through a draft of a cell phone policy. Nick helped write it. Actually, Nick drafted it with lots of kind of pulling things together that we knew were necessary and also some of the current practices. And the next step of the cell phone policy is to put it out there for the teachers. And our next meeting is the 11th of this month.
I just had one question. Did you use ChatGPT to draft something?
I don't think I did.
Yeah,
We can run it. That might be a good idea. No, for the AI policy, we use chat.
About finance, we didn't. You handle one?
Yes, I guess I will. Yes, we did meet tonight. We got an update on
Yeah.
We can mention.
I think it's, yeah, and we had an issue where we had a hack basically, right? Yeah, and we thought we were paying a vendor. In fact, we were not. That has resulted, and it's an ongoing thing. The state police are still involved. The money was paid in July. We were not notified that the payment was never received until a couple of weeks ago, right? So it's long gone. So but they're still trying to pursue it, and And new policy in effect, finance department and here to make sure. What happened is we got revised requiring instructions for sending funds. And they were real. I mean, they were real, but they weren't to the vendor.
Emails were intercepted somehow, and the result was finance department received an email that said, "Oh, these are our new ACH instructions," and the result was payment that went to a place it shouldn't have. This, unfortunately, it's very common, and it's too easy. It gets easier for people that want to do that to figure out how to do it in each step. It happens in my world. Pretty much almost everything is one way. So it's just something to be careful about. The finances, instituted procedures to significantly minimize the change that happens.
Double verification, not accepting any change. Without verifying. That was the big item. I think we just.
There was another item.
The roll. The rolling averages.
We talked about that. We're getting our audit. It's our audit is needed, yeah, and it's going to be dated October, which is great. She's got it done very, very early, and so yeah, she's excited about that. And then we talked about this is in my report as well, the kickoff for our budget season.
Yes. Thank you, Tony. Building.
Oh yeah, building met just prior to this meeting. Somebody broke the record. We continue to look for a long-term home for the STAR program, which I think everyone's aware is currently in the former independent school. So we've had a pretty good, what we thought was a good candidate for location. Did receive a property assessment report for that location. It revealed more work than we had anticipated to be done. And so we're tabling that for now. Dennis wasn't able to attend this month. So I'll follow with him and do some work on that. That sort of slows down the momentum in that direction. So we're continuing to look at options. One of the things we'll probably do is just brainstorming a bit, meeting with town manager Bill here, meeting with that personnel, so that we can again just work together, maybe get some ideas out of that. So yeah, it's we will find a solution. I'll plug that they're having an open house on the 26th. So there are 4 members here. So they are, yeah. I'm not sure if we can handle that.
I've seen you actually
Do a little plug for that. I think someone have mine because I already found it. It's 26. Yes. So just as a side. So the second topic, which is our usual second topic, is following on from the indoor air quality assessment we had done, substantial feedback on work needed on sanitary systems. We've been meeting with them at a call with a consulting firm, had them do some prioritization and phasing of the work of reference. So we received that updated report. That Dennis and I have not looked it over yet. But I will share that it's, again, in that area, given a surprise, I guess, given the school systems that bringing our HVAC up to current standards is turning out to be quite a So I'm going to try and summarize that at our next full meeting. Be looking to share more information, more details, just given the scope of what we're wading into potentially here from a budget perspective. So yeah, we'll get that on the agenda for our 2nd of December. Share out a bit more. Maybe have some fun.
Thanks, Steve. Curriculum
didn't meet, but we're going to meet next.
when? As long as we
can figure it out.
Yeah, just, you know,
EDJ did not meet, but we are looking to schedule a meeting probably the week of December 8th. That's all. Thanks.
Zoom reports. Faith and Theo's not here today.
Neither
Neither of you look like Theo.
I think that's most of the in-depth of the student report, but I did want to highlight one particular activity that EO held that really expressed, I think, their support for specifically senior students, but I think all students. And it was the senior application night that took place last Wednesday, the 29th, I believe, the last Wednesday. And I think it was really beneficial. It was an event held here in the RMC, and it was a chance for students to have like peer-to-peer support, but also like the counselors were there for support. And some of the administrators from like, the English department and faculty were there. And it was really beneficial for just trying to get a chance to work on college apps, supplemental, like anything that we needed help with. And there was a dinner provided, there was candy provided even, and I think it was just a really beneficial activity that like allowed us to be like, okay, EO really does see like, you know, value our success, they invest in our future. And it was also just like good to get support from EO Smith staff and to know that like that was there for us.
Okay, I have a lot of some of this about the student organizations. So the drama club, they were able to put on 3 successful productions of Alice versus Wonderland, which is like a play they decided to come up with, and they put a spin on Alice in Wonderland. So that was really interesting. Girls soccer and field hockey, they had a really good seasons, but unfortunately their seasons ended. But volleyball season, it's still going. Woodstock Academy tomorrow for semifinals. And the girls swim team they've also made states, and their first states game is this Friday or tomorrow actually. And the first quarter is officially done for students. The snapshot took place on this Tuesday. And so that basically allows students to be eligible for sports and other things. And the Black Student Union was able to meet with the principal and the assistant principals. I think that was 2 weeks ago. And we were able to discuss things we've noticed, what we kind of expect from our principals in our school. And we talked about how, like, where we were to go if something were to happen to us. And we kind of came to the fact that students don't really know where they would go because we don't feel like it's advertised enough on if we were to experience something that was racially motivated, we wouldn't really know where to go for that, or who to contact for support, or how to even handle it. So we talked about that and how we can make it more accessible for students or make it well known to students. And the Black Student Union is also having a meeting with professors from St. Joe's. That is going to be taking place next week. And so we're mostly going to be talking about the same topics, but this is just, again, I think it's without the principals. So it's more in depth and we can talk with like not professionals, but people who've actually studied this. And then we also had a Parents of Racial Justice meeting last week. So
When you had your meeting, were you able to come up with any proposals or possible solutions for where kids can go under those circumstances or what they can do?
it was only an hour, so we didn't go into that much then. I think it was really nice because a lot of students got to share their experiences of what they have experienced and kind of came to a conclusion like we don't really know what to do with it, like when that happens. So hopefully we can talk about it again and get to that. But
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a good opportunity to know like it was just like, okay, there's people that are ready for lesson. So I think it was more we talked to it. So.
it was good that the principal and the assistant principal made themselves approachable, and they basically said we're here, because I don't think I've ever really heard that in my 3 years. So
They're very approachable.
yes,
Very, you know,
I've learned that.
We can go on to, we have a special report tonight, but before we do that, we have our superintendent's report.
Mine is a little bit longer
Okay.
than usual.
Then we'll skip you and go right back to special report.
Perfect.
Stephanie?
Okay.
Hi, wonderful people. So nice to see you.
Nerds. Is that mine? Yeah. I'm gonna
That's terrific.
share your screen. Look at you. I was prepared for you today.
I'm going to give you this because this is some of the music events that are happening. So my name is Deb Holland. I'm the Director of English and Fine Arts.
And I really want to say this. It's a real privilege to work here and a real privilege and honor to work with the teachers that I get to work with and see the wonderful work they do with the amazing students that we have here at E.O. Smith. So thank you for that, for the opportunity. Thank you. What do you want me to do? Can you give me some? Does anyone? So thank you. This is not going to take long. Okay, so what I wanted to do is go over the goals of English and to show you what Fine Arts is doing and celebrate all the wonderful work we're doing. Everything is always in motion to get better. We're going to get better. And the only way we can do that is start somewhere. So here we go. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. First of all, I wanted to show you a map of where, can you guys even see? So this is a map of where classes go in English. And so you can see 9th starts here, 10th. And pretty much what I do, or did this year, and Renee can attest to this, is I gave this to all the counselors so the counselors would know where to place people. And when it comes to some of the new classes that we have. So on the curriculum committee, thank you very much. We are piloting 4 new classes this year. The 12th grade is not really a new class, but it had a refurbishment. And the one you can't see over here, because can I move this? There's one under here. Okay, the South Asian is one of them. And what we did is we married it to the British Lit, South Asian, and then we have the ECE 1004, which by the way, one of the teachers is right here, Reagan. And the 1004, think of this as a new ECE class, a UConn class. It's like the introduction to 1007. And so this is what I'm trying, let me tell you the problem that we're trying to solve. I want students to be successful and I want students to go to 1007 and feel like they can. And I want any student who wants to go to college to go. Sometimes, however, we get to that point where we're trying to make decisions and I'm trying to get to 1007, but I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of afraid because I might have some gaps in English. Maybe my SAT scores or my PSAT scores haven't quite hit benchmark. 1004 gives you college credit, but it gives you the introduction to academic writing. And so what it does is it kind of gives you the ladder up to the first year college class. And so that's what that is. And so then you can go from here as a junior. By the way, you can see it right here, 1004. You can take it as a junior if you're trying to get to the 1007 as a senior, or you can take it as a senior. And what it will do is that for any person that goes to a college and they say, hey, your SAT scores are a little low in English, it counts as the AccuPlacer. So it'll put you into the first year writing course so you don't have to take any other extra classes to get you into your first year writing English course. So that's the point of that. It's a ladder. So to me, it's a big piece to get everyone who wants to go successfully to college successfully. That's what I want to try to do. And that's what our team wants to do. And so, by the way, this was about talking to Reagan. This is about talking to the other people and teachers in English and saying, how can we help the kids who want to go but feel like that they're missing some things, okay? We also offer AP Lit and Comp this year, and we didn't do that before. It's another AP class. And so when you take the test, if you score 3, 4, or 5, you can get college credit. A lot of students have come to us. We did a survey and said, hey, we'd like to see an English class that is an AP class. If you notice, you could take an AP class your sophomore year. It drops. It just completely dropped out forever. And so now you can take it as a junior or you can take it as a senior to try to build up that college resume if that's where you want to go. And so those are the ones we offered. The perspective classes, which you can't see, are here. These perspectives, that's where we had, of course, the Middle Eastern, we had the African, we had the Latin, we had the Native, the British, and the South Asian right there. But the South Asian is the one we're piloting this year. So that's that. So what are our goals for English? We are concentrating on making sure that we are adhering to policy, which is we're making those unit guides, making sure that we're getting them to students, and we're doing it all the right way. In other words, like, hey, let's reflect together. I'm going to give this to you before we start the unit because you know exactly what we're supposed to do, right? Where we're going. That's what we're working on. Common assessments. We worked on some common assessments last year. This year, we're working on the common formatives because you have to have common formatives in order to get to that policy, in order to get to that unit guide. Next, the calibration of grades. Now that we do have common assessments, what's awesome is that we can actually look at them. And if your class, for example, if your teacher is like teacher A and your teacher is teacher B, if you're taking the same class, we're going to be saying, whatever essay you just did and the essay you did, an A in your teacher's class should be an A in your teacher's class. Does that make sense? The same kind of level. That's what calibrating and stuff. And that's what we get to do because of it. So I'm excited about that. Next, sharing best practices and data-informed decisions. So now I want to show you some data because I want to show you what we're analyzing in order to make really informed decisions, intentional decisions about curriculum, about placement, about equity, about all the things we're trying to do. Guess what? This just dropped today. We got the 9th grade PSAT scores today, and here they are. So, hey, no one has seen this data yet, so I'm excited. Just so you know, on 9th grade, in order to meet benchmark, you've got to get to 410. That's benchmark. That means, hey, you're on grade level to hit college and career readiness. Our school, the average is 471. That is well above the state. That is well above the U.S. territories. You can look at that. So yay. Oops, sorry, friends. When you break this down, this is where we are with benchmarks. 70% of our students meet or exceed benchmark in reading and writing. That's evidence-based reading and writing. So we've got some room we've got a little wiggle room. we've got some work to do. That means 30% of our students are not quite meeting that benchmark. So this, again, though, if you look at this, here's the state at 53. Here's the US at 56. I mean, we're well above, but we want every student to be successful, and that's our goal. So what are we doing about it? Well, first thing we have to do on the PSAT data, which by the way, we'll start these conversations next week, for example, in 9th grade, is that we're going to look at the subcategories, and you can see the 4 up there. I can go in them into detail, but what we can see is like which subcategory do we really need to focus on in our classes to like move these kids up. So, for example, expression of ideas and standard English conventions. This is grammar. The expression of ideas, style, transitions, those types of things. That's our biggest hitters right there. So now what we have to do is dig in and start saying, what are we going to do about it? In 9th grade, yeah.
So what does it say? Testers in.
I know, I can't get this thing out of the way.
What is it? Minimize it. You're not.
So here's what it is.
I don't know how
to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Is that these are bands.
Yeah.
And so those are the testers that are from 120 to 410. What's really interesting about this, by the way, is 410 is actually benchmark. And so in case you folks do know that like the SAT is all digital now and it's totally different. What's really interesting about this is that they give us bands where some of the kids in the band are hit benchmark and some haven't. And so it kind of is difficult to actually make some. Oh, nicely done.
Don't be too impressed yet. Okay. We're going to end up ruining something.
Thanks, friend. Welcome. So these are the bands. And so what I had done is I'd taken these bands, added them together, the lower bands, and I'm like, those are that's our opportunity to do better. And I'm going to call it that. So opportunities to improve expression of ideas and the grammar, we need to do it. We are actually this year teaching or practicing grammar, I should say, in the 9th and 10th grades or 9th grade. Right now, we're going to start one at a time and we're going to move forward. All right. What does this bring us to? Another data point, because what's interesting is that as you can tell that PSAT data, it's like the forest. Here's the forest, but we need to know what's happening with the trees. iReady, which is a reading diagnostic that really helps us get to the trees. I just want to put it that way, use that metaphor. How did we get iReady? We used DRP last year for reading diagnostics. That's the degrees of reading power. And the degrees of reading power, we got that data and we were like, don't know how to read that data either. It just said, hey, grade level, not grade level. Well, the PSAT does that for us. How does this, iReady though gives us some really extra information, and I'm real excited to show you. Our new reading specialist, her name is Ms. Riccardi, Kelly Riccardi. She came in and she said, hey, want to try this? Dr. Bain, me, Ms. Riccardi, all of us went to some of these webinars to figure out where do we want to go for a reading diagnostic that'll really give us some good information. iReady is the one we landed on, so we're piloting this year. By the way, it's cheaper. Okay, it's cheaper than DRP, so you'd be happy with that. Please note, because this tells us that we're consistent. This tells me that iReady is actually good data for us because 73% are on benchmark in reading. It's telling us pretty much the same data. The big data is correct. So that tells me that iReady is consistent with the PSAT. So that's awesome. By the way, 94% of our ninth graders have taken this test. By the way, 18% seem to have real gaps in reading. And so we're going to have to look at that. And of course, that's with our reading specialists and all the supports that we're going to look at. What does the teacher get to see? There would be names right here next to this, okay? These are ninth graders, by the way. So this ninth grader is reading on a 10th grade level. And all of these different subcategories are telling us what grade they're reading on. For example, comprehension of literature is at 12th grade, this person is. However, when it comes to information like a history textbook, they're in mid or late 9. Overall, their comprehension is a grade 10. So we're starting to get a little more interesting data through that we can examine. Here's the real exciting part. This is where we really get the trees and not the forest. These are actually Common Core standards. For example, in literature, providing an objective summary. This tells us that 190 students aren't good at doing that. Wow, we can actually target summary at that point and have our teachers look at their lessons, have students practice that. Look at this one, analyze seminal U.S. documents of historical and literary significance. For example, Washington's farewell address, the Gettysburg Address. Wow, 163 students in the ninth grade are not good at looking at those kinds of documents. Do you see how specific we can get now? And it's specific to Common Core standards. That's exciting because we can do something with this kind of data. We can actually make some informed decisions about what we have as our lessons and where we can go with our curriculum. So I just wanted to show you an example of what we're getting with. Thank you. Here's another thing, because Dave Tanner is like the spreadsheet king. What he did, I want you to pretend there are student names here. The grade they're getting in their English class, the accommodations, the lunch status. Here's the town, I wiped them out. This is their SBAC. This is the iReady. This will be we just got it today, so this will be filled in by next week. But look at this data that we can get, and it really tells us where kids are. And so it's like this crosswalk of data, so we can ensure that another piece of data to help us with where to help kids, okay, and how to help our curriculum. So what do we do with all of this data? Well, we can help place students more accurately for enrichment and for support. Because some students are like, hey, I'm sitting in for perhaps a CC class, where it's just like, and I have a 12th grade reading, why are we not saying, hey, you might consider going to honors or AP? I mean, does that child even have? And we talk about equity. Does anyone even talk to that child about maybe going to an honors class or an AP if they're scoring this high? So that's exciting. Or about the support we need to give to the child who is in ninth grade and perhaps reading on a sixth grade reading level or a fifth grade reading level. So that's good for us to know. Working toward equitable access, make class, lesson, and curricular changes a department as a PLC, help students by differentiating. Tier 3 support, look at students in the yellow as approaching. This is a tier 1 issue. So then we start about what are we doing strategically in our classrooms at that point? And then better cross-departmental collaboration in counseling, special education, English, and social studies. I mean, clearly that one standard was like, we should be high social studies. We should be looking at historical documents together, that kinds of things. So that's what we can do with the data. So I just wanted to kind of show you where we are as an English department. I think this is very exciting. I think that the English department, and they're brilliant teachers. These are great teachers. And I think they're ready. I think they want more information so they can help their students be the best that they can be. And so I'm happy to help them analyze this. So next, fine arts. It's time to get to the fine arts. All right. Hey, visual, what's going on? These are the classes. What's really cool with them is that they are actually doing cross-curriculum work with the CTEs. the CTE in architecture. And so like they're teaching architecture kids how to draw. And so that's cool. Next, their college experience. They've had the University of Hartford. They went in and they had the portfolio day where they had college professors tell them about their art and their portfolios. That was pretty cool. Active skill building. They're continually having students in studio classes. They're actively engaged in breaking down the components of drawing from life. That's cool. Please come to the art show. It'll be in January. We don't have a hard date yet. It's not on this in the music ones. If I had a hard date, I could have gone there. And then the evening of the arts, which actually is on your piece of paper, is the last one. So those are great art shows. By the way, just if you have never been to that side of the building, there's some incredible art going on down there. I highly recommend you go to the art show. Let's look at theater. Hey, you noticed you actually said this, that the Alice versus Wonderland, that was a hit that just happened about a week ago, about 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Classes that we're offering in theater, you can see them there. By the way, there's more theater happening. The music pool is happening January 30th through the 31st and February 1st. Please mark your calendars. And if you want your heart to go 3 times bigger than its normal size, go to this. This is the Unified Theater Star Makers, and they're doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So please attend that. Music. This is just the numbers. They put on 10 concerts a year. They've already had a couple. They had a Halloween one at St. Mark's just a couple of weeks ago. They just had the choir concert a week and a half ago. They go to 7 festivals. They have 3 community performances. They have 3 field trips. They have fundraisers. They offer 12 courses, and there are 299 students out of E.O. Smith that actually happen through music. That's amazing. That's more than 25% of our population. So yay, music. These are the classes that you can take. By the way, there is a couple of these ECEs are also pilots, by the way. We just hosted here this week, because Sharon, you know this because I think they were walking through you never would have known. You know what? There's a group organization from Mr. Randolph. Okay, that's what great. He's awesome. Yeah, he's the best. Charter Oak Met Music Festival. There were like 300 kids here, and you didn't hear a peep. There were a lot of, and it was 3 days, wasn't it? I don't know. I heard more than a peep. Oh, you did. Well, if you were on that side, you definitely heard some drumming. Other things that they're going to: the New England Music Festival, the Eastern Regions All-State Festival, Yukon String Festival. These folks are just, if you are in music, you are a busy person, which is awesome. By the way, Choral Fest. All of these middle schools are coming here to have a music experience with our choirs on a day, which is great. Because again, we want to say we're Region 19, all of the schools. Come here, let's have music. By the way, 14 of our students we just got this, by the way, this week. 14 of our students qualified. This is rare, by the way. This is like the American Choral Directors Association, the Eastern Region. This is about 11 states. This is like making states with 11 of them instead of 1. I don't know how else to say that. We have 14 people. That is atypical. Okay, last year we got 4 to go. This year we have 14. That is atypical. Hey, Caroline, that's happening. Check that out, December 6th. It's going to be beautiful. And I want to say this. If there's one thing you want to go to the Jorgensen. We are going to the Jorgensen for our winter celebration concert. It is December 11th. It is at 8 p.m. We are charging because they are charging us. And so, and by the way, a generous gift from the Edwin O. Smith Foundation allowed us to actually go to the Jorgensen and have this. And can I tell you why? I really want you to know why. Our bands are so big, our orchestras are so big, our choirs are so big, and we're to get them all together on one stage. It can't be in our auditorium. Our auditorium is not big enough. Our gym is not big enough. We're going to the Jorgensen. Okay, that's what we got to do. So please support us. Bring your money because you need your money. Okay. I do want to say this for anyone from Ashford. We did kind of jump on the middle school Ashford band concert. We have worked with Ashford today, and because they are gracious, wonderful people, They are taking their band concert and they're moving it back 1 hour for 6 o'clock. We are taking our concert, which was going to be at 7, and we're pushing it back to 8 o'clock. That gives parents a 2-hour window to go to both the Ashford Middle School concert as well as the beautiful winter celebration with all of the musicians at the Jorgensen. And so I really, if anyone from Ashford is here or listening, thank you for being so gracious. We apologize. What happened is that we didn't have the Jorgensen. We needed a venue. We were really working hard to find a venue. Finally, Jorgensen, you can take this date. That's the date you get. So we took it. And then we were like, oh no, Ashford, and that's their middle school. So we made a boo-boo, but everyone is very gracious and nice about it. And so I really thank the wonderful people from Ashford. I went way over. So thank you so much. It's so nice to be here. Have a lovely day. Do you have any questions for me? Yeah.
No, I just wanted to thank you for the joy that you bring to the work you do in the presentation. And I like the idea of trees and forests. And I think that's really helpful when we're looking at the data that you presented. And I think it's a great model for departments going forward, especially with SAT data and PSAT data, to say we got this general data, but also focusing on individual students, I think is awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful night. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm echoing Nick's sentiments, but I also want to add, I really like the way you layer classes for the grade. I think it makes it very clear for parents who don't necessarily have students at school just yet. Sometimes the class layout is confusing with the way you have it set out. Like it says to your curriculum from the say here, so I think it's a great job. And all of that that you were able to provide in such a short amount of time was fantastic. So I think that's great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, I should be here on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind if I excuse myself?
Yes, but thank you for your enthusiasm. Now it's terrific.
Do you know what? It's a privilege to work in education with wonderful students, with wonderful teachers. It really is a privilege. Every day I love to come to work. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And there's a reason why I asked him. Not tonight. I don't want to follow her. No, but there's a reason why I did ask her for invitation as the directors to go first, because when she did present the curriculum invitation of the courses, so that sets the standard for what the expectation is.
We can go to superintendent's report. You will have to follow her.
Okay, so my superintendent's report looks rather short. It seemed like it was a really short one. However, one of the things that we did accomplish this month was to add onto our wonderful group of student advisory members, and they are here tonight. So I'm going to ask them to please stand and come forward. Reluctantly doing so.
Didn't expect that, did you?
They knew they were getting introduced tonight. So we have grade 10, we have Olivia Volatoris. Did I get that right?
You did get it right, surprisingly.
Thank you. And Yasamine Albayati. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. I want to get it right.
That was perfect.
Names are important. Our grade 9 representatives are, it's the first time that we've had 9th graders. And so they'll be kind of piloting with us this year. They'll be coming to meetings and coming to board meetings and kind of watching and learning and contributing to the meetings and to what's being shared. And we have Lily Sun.
Hello.
And Sophia Liu.
Please go on.
Did I get those names right, ladies? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Do you want to say anything about why you wanted to be on the board?
I thought it would be a really cool experience, and I've never really been in this type of setting. And I think I'll probably use this later in my life as well. So it's nice to be able to see this type of thing earlier on.
I myself, I'm in scouting. I'm a senior patrol leader in my troop. If any of you gents in the past have been in Boy Scouts, And I have a deep care and connection for all the scouts in my troop. And I have that same care for my peers. And I wanted to be on the board as a way to kind of articulate the needs of my peers. I've always seen like the student perspective of you, and it's cool to just like actually be able to talk to board members about stuff and see that like perspective. So I'm excited to experience that. I think learning about these issues that like the violent illness, or we have really know about a lot of the issues that the school has.
Thank all of you. Appreciate it and welcome. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, so just get this set up, and I'm gonna pass these out to these copies in your packet, but they didn't quite make it. It's just a little lower from the other. So kind of the goal of my report tonight is to review our school improvement plan, which should look pretty familiar. We've had a very similar school improvement plan for the past, so this is our 6th year. For the most part, it mirrors the school improvement plan template from NEAS, and it mirrors our priority areas. Stop my share real quick. 2. So easy when I was doing it for stuff. Trying to get the slideshow. I missed my touch screen. All right, we're just going to deal with it this way. So we've had a very similar school district improvement plan the past few years. I don't want to be in slideshow though. Arthur, any suggestions? Say it one more time.
Over the top and bring forward to underneath it. If you go underneath it, you should be able to grab that forward at the house.
Yeah, I was trying to do that.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys know.
Stop.
Great.
Thank you, Brady.
Just slideshow.
Where's my touch screen, Brady?
You can do the icon down and see.
Busted, and it's going to cost us a good pretty penny to get it fixed.
Oh, there you go.
Should be with this game.
Thanks, Brady. Right in front of my face. All right, thank you. So, and so in your packet, you have the updated plan. And I'm not going to go through every single part of it, but we're going to summarize. What I just passed out also was the board priorities that we created last year, cross-referenced with the updated district and school improvement plan. So the one thing that's important to see, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Taking it back a little bit to where these goals kind of came from. This was a document that I shared with, I believe, we shared this with the board back in 2022. This was a document that we created with the staff when we were coming out of COVID around what are our priorities as a school and how are we going to move forward. So we framed this document around kind of what's the box? What are our pillars of things that we believe in? So we had our school-wide goal and our theory of action that we'll talk about in a second. We had belief statements that were generated from surveys around things that we believe in. I believe in a growth mindset. I believe that every student is entitled to equitable access and opportunity to a rigorous and relevant learning experience. I believe that strong teacher-student relationships are essential for student learning. I believe that I can teach every student to high levels. I believe that I am responsible for teaching and assessing the vision of the graduate standards, skills, and attributes and dispositions. Our equity protocol that was created to really determine, are we reaching all kids? Are the decisions that we're making equitable? Who's winning, who's losing in the decisions that we make? And are we being attentive to that? And then our themes for vision and mission that was generated from staff, students, and families. And then what were some of the issues that were coming up as we re-entered school from COVID? Some of the issues through our think tank and through activities with staff, some of the concerns were things like no late penalties and failures. Things were the wild, wild west coming out of COVID when things were very, very flexible because they needed to be. And how do we start to rein things in? Not giving zeros, flexible due dates, again, wild, wild west. Some things that we were actually kind of addressing and talking about even as late as the past couple of years, as we talked about the grading and reporting policy. Social emotional learning and wellness, students being disconnected, staff being disconnected, this disconnectedness overall as a result of kind of living in a two-dimensional world as we were all kind of connected to our screens through COVID, lack of communication and having a fragmented community. And then roaming the hallways, how to be a student, cell phone use, kind of pervasive things that we've been talking about for the past few years. So this is kind of a step back in order to move forward to where we are now. Our current goal, or our past goal and our current goal is all grounded in the idea of equity. Everything that we're doing is about making sure that we're removing obstacles to learning for every single student. When it comes to looking at our achievement scores, and Steph said it really, really well, 70% of our kids are meeting that benchmark threshold. That's wonderful, it's fabulous. 30% aren't. So what are we doing for those kids? And who are those kids? And what are we doing for all of them? So our equity goal, you'll see it at the top of every page of our school improvement plan, is achieving equity through maximizing participation, performance, and experiences for all of our students. And our high-level theory of action follows it. If we are committed to the belief that we can and will teach every student to high levels, and every is the key word in this theory of action, not some, not 70%, not 80%, not the number of students that get us to be a blue ribbon school, every student. And if we support teacher learning and social emotional mastery and student-centered approach to learning, then every student will thrive, social and emotionally and academically. This is a slide that I've been bringing up frequently this year, because a lot of some of the challenges that we faced, not just this year, not just last year, but in general, kind of circle around this idea of trust. So I draw back on this often. So plans are great. They aren't worth the paper that they're written on if we're not all working together as a community to make sure that that plan is actually achieved, that it's followed through with. And in order for that to happen, we all have to be on the same page, and there has to be levels of trust that happen with it. And in order for that trust to happen, this came from Brene Brown. I did not put it down here, but from Brene Brown, she's amazing. And in order for that to happen, we have to identify what gets in the way of trust. So trust happens when we're clear about our boundaries, what's okay and what isn't. We do what we say what we do. These are things we aspire to. I aspire to do that. Do I always follow through with that 100%? No, But if someone can say to me, geez, Sharon, I lost a little trust in you because you didn't do what you said. Okay, I can understand that. And if they don't trust you and it's some nebulous reason and there's no reason why, it's a little bit harder to understand what I can do better to be trusted. So these are some things that we're talking about frequently now, and it contributes to this plan coming to fruition, because these are the conversations that we need to have. Accountability, not back channeling and blaming, taking responsibility for what we do and what we don't do. Vault, don't using stories that aren't yours as currency. Making sure that we're true to ourselves and to each other. Choosing courage over comfort. It's a big one. It's really easy to take the easy way out and to take the road the path of least resistance, and the one that might be the road that's going to get you to being okay. Might get us the blue ribbon, but it might not get us to every student achieving at the levels that we really want every student to achieve to. Integrity, so choosing the courage over comfort, being not judgmental, understanding that we can ask for help. No one is perfect, and no one is the all-knowing. Knowing that you can come to me for help, I need to go to folks for help. I don't have the answers to everything. And that's the beauty of doing the work that we do. It's the beauty of the PLC. I think Steph did a really nice job, again, of explaining how the PLC works and coming together to look at data, solve problems together. We have to be able to embrace this idea that none of us is the vault of all-knowing, and we have to trust that we're not being judged, we're not being the all-knowing. And then generosity, assuming positive intent. We are all here for the betterment of students. We're all here to make their lives better. And when we are in this place where we're assuming that everybody is here for that purpose, the world looks a little bit better. Looking at things from a positive perspective, just had this conversation today, Kimberly. Looking at things from a positive perspective really does change the way you look at things. One of my favorite Wayne Dyer quotes is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It goes a long way. So I say this because it does frame our perspective and how we're moving forward when it comes to lofty goals, both at our school improvement plan perspective and at the board's vision and goals that we have moving forward. Because when you look at those goals and those priorities, we have aspirational goals. Aspirational goals are not unattainable goals, but in order for us to attain them, we have to have this process and these foundational elements in place. So our first goal, and I'm not going to get into a ton of detail and into the weeds. I gave this to you tonight in its full kind of draft form, so that when we have our retreat in December, you've had some time to look it over. You can look at the metrics, some of the things that we put in place. Initially, this draft had metrics based on last year's accountability data. The accountability data came out end of last week. They were embargoed till the end of last week. So they are in there now. When we look at the goals that were set, the data is not in there. The data you are going to get in this presentation from me and my superintendent's report in the December meeting. But and then our retreat will be our processing of that data and our processing of this improvement plan together during that retreat. So we'll get into the weeds a little bit more at that meeting. But our first goal is around equity and belonging. Key actions. So the school takes a collective responsibility for the physical, social, emotional, and intellectual needs of every student. That's that first goal. That's our priority area through NEAS. And so everything that follows is geared toward that kind of big aspirational goal. Goal 2 is curriculum and mastery learning. Understanding that mastery learning is different than mastery grading. Mastery learning is a commitment that students will master what they're supposed to know. That it's not I took a test. I either learned it or I didn't, and we're moving on. It's this idea that it's not okay, it's not enough to just have taught it. You learned it or you didn't, and we're moving on. It's the idea that we are responsible as educators that students learn, not just it's our responsibility as educators that we teach. Goal 3 is student supports and pathways. The school has intervention strategies designed to support learners. So under that piece, you're going to see a lot of the intervention work. Now, what I'm not talking about in a lot of depth and detail are all of those data pieces that fall underneath it that we're looking at and we're monitoring, and that we are measuring and putting through our equity protocol and all of those pieces. Under our professional learning priorities, so this kind of, it structures again a way to look at our long range goals. We kind of had equity, social emotional learning, and student-centered learning separated out as 3 individual goals as a district. But really, when you're looking at the organization of what we do, everything falls under the umbrella of equity. Along with that is this idea of clarity, consistency, and coherence. If we are striving for equitable opportunities for kids, in order for that to happen, there has to be clarity in our work, consistency in our work, and coherence in our work. And again, Steph talked a little bit about that earlier. This coherence piece of our students learning the same standards. If you're in the same class, are you learning the same things? Are you being assessed on the same things? And are our practices coherent? Are they or consistent from one class to another, so that my A and Lou's A would be the same for the same top course? Under that umbrella of equity comes the social emotional piece. If we're not attending to students' social emotional needs, this idea of purpose and belonging, then they're not getting an equitable opportunity to learn. They're being left behind in some way. Student-centered learning is kind of the same piece. That's that equitable access as well. If we're not paying attention to how they learn best, if we're not paying attention to what excites them about learning, what their interests are, what's relevant to them, then we're leaving kids behind. If we're not paying attention to what really gets them excited or what engages them in the process of learning and differentiating for those needs, then again, we're leaving kids behind. And these are the things that we're looking at when we're looking at our data. So throughout this entire document, you're going to see that we're referring to data and metrics that measure participation, performance, and experiences. Experiences are tough. And Faith talked a little bit about our folks from St. Joe's coming back to talk to students, because experiences are hard to measure. We have to talk to students in order for that to happen, in order for us to really know and understand what their lived experiences are. Lou and the administrators talking to students to find out or to share with them that they are accessible. It's the only way that we're going to find out what their lived experiences are around the school. Our teachers who are part of the Racial Justice Academy, making connections with kids so that they're a resource and kids know that they can go to them for support, that there's someone there that kids can go to share their experience with, ways that we can then measure those experiences. Participation, looking at town data. How many students from Ashford, and Steph talked about Dave as the spreadsheet king. He's actually the data king, because he has found ways to leverage AI to put all of this data into, we call it a platform, right? Create a bot or input all of the data in there so that you can go in and ask the question about, how many students from Ashford are taking honors level biology, or how many students from Wellington are taking AP Health. And we can also ask, how are they performing in those courses, so that we can really see where there's disparity or not in our student performances. And that's just one. We can ask regarding all of the demographics that we have, so that, again, I'm going to so steal her metaphor, the forest and the trees. So we have our broad piece, but then how do we drill that down to individual groups and then individual students, and what are their individual needs? And how do we bring that information to teachers so that they can use it and leverage it to tailor their instruction? So these are the board goals and priorities. And what you'll see in the sheet that I gave you is the so those are in order of the prioritization that you all created when we went through our exercise back in April, maybe. I think we had our second retreat back in the spring. And what you'll notice, I think, and you'll see where it says school district improvement plan. There's a column. So priority 1 was enrollment decline and financial program. It's a huge issue when we went through our budgeting season last year. It's not really in our school improvement plan. Doesn't mean it's not a priority. It certainly is. But there's no corresponding action step in our school improvement plan at this time. This will be something that we talk about in our next retreat. You go to priority area 2, student well-being and support. There's a lot of key issues underneath that particular priority area that came up in our discussions. Those are all listed there. And then you can see the third bullet down. That's addressed in goal 1, action step 1, 2, 6, and 8 in the school district improvement plan. And then promoting sense of community and belonging among all students. Again, goal 1, action step 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can kind of see that pattern as you move through the documents. And this will be one of our items on our agenda for us to address at the meeting in December. But I wanted to take you through it tonight to kind of show, number one, the work that we did last year was pretty substantial, and show you the updated plan. We update this every year. The metrics have changed somewhat. I'm excited to show you the accountability data. I was really a little upset with the state because it came out last week, and then when they said that, I was excited because it came out a little earlier in the week, and then they embargoed it until the end of the week. However, I'm excited to share those with you, and there's some positive movement. However, we do have a lot of work to do as far as our accountability data is concerned, and I think the trends that that Steph shared, we see some similar trends across the board, but there's a lot of work that we have to do in regards to curriculum and targeting some specific areas with math instruction, science instruction, and some of the biggest improvements that we've made, just to give you a little spoiler alert, have been in the areas of chronic absenteeism, which is definitely a kudos to the work that Lou and Omar and the team and counseling have done with the REACH program. So I'm excited to talk to you about that in our meeting in December. Yes.
In your professional development, this is part of success in Sunday law. Will you be able to address these goals with the teachers, come up with like the comprehension, data that Stephanie gave us? is something that has concerned me, not just with our school, that should just give this right now, but it does seem this is a problem in a lot of schools. And now we have other things where we're trying to figure out the best use of things like AI, the chat. So, I mean, I'm very concerned about that because I think if you can read and understand a variety of types of information, then you'll go very far. And so this authentic excellence, I think we are very capable of that.
So the question around addressing comprehension, I think, Steph's taken on a pretty big lift because her work doesn't just connect to social studies. There's a huge connection to social studies, but there's, if you can read, comprehend, it impacts science. I mean, if you're not successful in science, it probably has little to do with science. It has more to do with being able to read, understand the text. So that there's a heavy lift and there's a lot on the shoulders of our ELA teachers. So I think all departments are going to need to work together on that. And I know as a former science teacher, I was a reading and writing teacher as well.
I recognize that. And if you said that, because have to write out understanding of the scientific principles, or your kids do not understand things like chemistry and the biologists that you taught them. It's not really on top of it.
So yes, I think the challenge is always, getting the data, feeding the data to folks in a way that is applicable for them in the classroom. And I think that's something that Steph does a really good job with. And there's no way to with all the data that she had, you can't do it all at once. You have to, do it and, prioritize what's the most important first step, to get kids there. But there's certainly curricular changes that are going to need to happen in order for it to be a shared responsibility, because it's not just on the shoulders of the English department.
That's why I was hoping that maybe we could this year get into that with one more thing, right? Thank you.
Any questions?
We can use this files.
I'm sorry?
We have missed files.
I'm sorry.
We have missed files.
Oh, sure.
Is that hard copies?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the presentation as well, that's Steph's presentation.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sure. And then
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, get that out. A lot of work.
Believe it or not, we haven't done the consent agenda. Usually we get to that earlier in the meetings, but I wanted to get to the reports, because Sharon wanted me to. We'll get to the consent agenda. It's a very short agenda. Is there any changes that anybody wants to make? Any retraction, reduction, modifications? Okay, then I will entertain a motion. Karen, so just a second by Julie. Is there any discussion on this consent agenda? Hearing none, I can put it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, that passes. So now we're doing the consent agenda. Old business, is there any old business that needs to come up? How about new business? All right, discussion items. If there aren't, then I would certainly entertain a motion to go into executive session to do it things to discuss in executive session. By Nick. So a second, by Tim.
Off of that resource.
We can do that. Yeah, we'll consider that part of the discussion on the motion that's been proposed and seconded. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address the board before we go into executive session? No one's kidding. Renee, no one there. No. Hearing none, then no further discussion. I can put it to a vote. All in favor? Okay, we're going into executive session.